I'm a first-time mom. I have a daughter who just turned a year old 2 weeks ago, and I'm also 24 weeks pregnant with my second. And as I'm thinking about and preparing for baby number two, I've been thinking a lot about my experience with co-sleeping. And I thought I'd make a video to share a little bit about that because, in my opinion, co-sleeping works until it doesn't anymore. And I had a great experience to start, and then it just became impractical, and for my own sanity I had to stop. So let me give you a little bit of rundown of like some of the like the honest experience with co-sleeping that probably a lot of people won't tell you about. So throughout my pregnancy, I planned to co-sleep with my daughter when she was born, and that's what we did to save room with a crib and not need a bassinet or anything like that. I knew it would relieve a lot of anxiety for me to not have to be getting up constantly to check if she's still breathing or anything like that. So one thing that I like in retrospect kind of feel like is a little bit dangerous about co-sleeping is right after you give birth, especially, you're so exhausted that it's way easier that if you're worried about rolling on top of your child, you're most likely to do that in the first week when you're recovering from labor and stuff because you're just so exhausted and you sleep so heavily. I totally multiple times remember jumping awake and being like, oh my gosh, where's the baby? Even though the baby was like perfectly fine next to me, no blankets or anything near her. But in retrospect, I'm like, that's totally not safe. That's something that nobody really prepared me for. Nobody told me that would be an experience that you would go through. So you really have to weigh in your mind, is if you have anxiety about rolling on top of your baby, or if you have like a genuine risk of doing that, is that something that you should even risk at all, like with the co-sleeping thing? And with baby number two, I'm considering getting a side sleeping bassinet, the one that you can bring right up to the bed, at least for those first couple of weeks when you're just like so exhausted, recovering from labor, and then also you're dealing with the frequent waking and stuff. I feel like a side sleeper might relieve a little bit of that anxiety for me because I get to have the baby breathing right next to me, but not have to worry at all about rolling on top of her. So that's just something to consider. Anyway, all that being said, co-sleeping absolutely saved my life because by the time she was 7 weeks old, she was practically sleeping through the night. I was getting 8 hours of sleep at least. I think she still woke up about once at night, but that's totally manageable, totally doable doing, because a lot of people have to wake up once at night anyway to use the bathroom or something. So a lot of people used to joke with me, oh, is your baby, are you sleeping through the night yet? And I was like, well, basically I am. I feel like I can actually handle things because I'm sleeping 8 hours at night, and she only wakes up once at night, and that was totally doable for me. And I loved the comfort of having my baby with me. A lot of people who are thinking of the advantage of like, oh, when I nurse, I can just like pop out a breast and nurse my baby right there when she wakes up and is hungry. A lot of times they're just so small that it's not actually practical to do that at that age. So I still would just, when my baby woke up, I would sit upright in my bed, get my nursing pillow, and just like nurse her with low light, almost in the dark, and just like lay there with my eyes closed and wait till she fell asleep, and then I'd kind of transfer her next to me, and just rather than having to completely move her to a crib, just shifting a little bit to the side, throwing my pillow to the ground, she really wouldn't wake up enough to be awake. She was right next to me, she knew I was still there. It was great. And anyway, that was like the early stages, those early few months of co-sleeping. It was amazing. I noticed around 4.5 months old, when my daughter started getting her first set of teeth, that she was waking up a little bit more frequently, which I think is completely normal no matter how your baby sleeps, whether with you or in a crib. And the teething, they often look for you for comfort, completely normal and everything. But by the time my daughter was 6 months old, it became frequent wakings every hour and a half to 3 hours, but usually about every 2 hours. So an hour and a half to 3 hours, usually about every 2 hours. She was waking up from 6 months old till 10 months old. And I kept thinking it would get better, but it totally did not. And she was using me for comfort. I began to realize, which is, like I said, it's fine until a point where you're literally losing your mind and you're not able to take care of your own health. You have any sort of negative thoughts of self-harm or anything like that, you've got to do a change. It came to a point where I mentioned it to my the midwife that was there that had delivered my daughter, because I got also a free year of postpartum care with that original prenatal package. I mentioned it to the midwife, and she said, "How does it seem like your daughter is handling the waking up, every hour and a half?" And I was like, now that you mentioned it, she is kind of fussy during the daytime. She doesn't seem as happy as usual. And so around when my daughter was like 10 months old, I believe, my husband and I made the decision to stick her in the crib, just try it out, see how it would be. I also had known I was pregnant with number 2 by that time, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, we have to have her transition to a crib by the time baby 2 comes around. For our own sanity and practical reasons, we don't have a good bed set up for 2 kids co-sleeping. And I also was thinking of my own mental health, and like, I can't keep doing the whole waking up every hour and a half. And I should say, I don't know about you, but by the time she was big enough to actually nurse next to me, and like I could just like roll over and pull up my shirt and let her nurse, I wasn't actually able to sleep at all while she was nursing. I don't know how people do that. You'd have to be like such a level of exhausted that it doesn't bother you. But I always, anytime I was nursing, was completely awake, just waiting for her to fall asleep so that I could unlatch her and get comfortable myself. She was never in a comfortable position for me to sleep. So the convenience of not having to get up is really nice, but like I wasn't really able to sleep while nursing her. And maybe that's just because I'm like, I don't sleep unless I'm completely comfortable or something. Maybe I'm too picky. But yeah, so after 4 months of dealing with the frequent 1.5 to 3 hour wakings every single night, we decided to cold turkey transition her to the crib. And I was not expecting it to work. But when I say that she cold turkey started sleeping in the crib, with a couple times waking up at night, but like no real fussiness or anything like that, it actually worked. Cold turkey. And I realized that my daughter was actually not sleeping well next to me in bed, which is really surprising. Something that when you look into the Safe Sleep 7, which is like the 7 things that you should do regarding if you're going to have your baby co-sleep with you, you're supposed to have her ideally lay on her back. You could have them lay on the side next to you, like on their side, on her side. And my daughter, turns out, she clearly had wanted to be sleeping on her tummy with her butt up in the air, which I learned because that's what she does every night, even now in the crib. She always, I might lay her on her back, she might be like that for a bit, but then she rolls over onto her stomach with her butt up in the air, which, if you think about it, a lot of adults, you still want to sometimes sleep on your stomach. I don't know what it is about being more comfortable like that. Mammals, almost every mammal that I can think of sleeps on their stomach, sometimes on their side, but never really on your back. You don't see like a horse or a dog laying on their back. They sometimes lay on the side, but they usually curl up more on their stomach. And so, yeah, that's something that I had no idea, that your child, if they're waking up a ton at night, it may be because they're not even in a comfortable position for them. And so my daughter is now a year old. She has gotten into the routine of waking up once around 4 to 5 a.m. And in that case is when I bring her to the bed to let her nurse, and then she sleeps in bed with us for the next couple hours till she officially wakes up with the sun. So it's been this new stage that we're in right now where she's not teething right now. So when she starts teething again, I expect things will change a little bit. She'll probably wake up more often, and we'll have to deal with that when it comes. But this new arrangement that we have, which is mostly her in bed, which I should also say I nurse her to sleep, then when she's mostly asleep, I carry her to the crib. That arrangement has been perfect for us, and I still get the benefits of the co-sleeping cuddles when she wakes up around 5 a.m. in the morning. So it's been great to see how happy she is during the daytime too. And so I know that she is actually getting good rest now. She's about to pull down the blinds on our windows. But yeah, the one thing that I will say that I definitely need to do differently with baby number 2 is figuring out the naps situation, because I learned that you have to start them in a crib or something, unless you're planning to baby wear the whole time. Have your baby strapped to you and let them sleep and have naps during the day while you're wearing them on you. You have to start them pretty young to actually get them in a crib sleeping at nap time. Because my daughter, until she was literally, I think she was 11 months old, she would not nap in her crib. She would only nap in my lap, usually nursing to sleep. And that was like sweet until I just couldn't do it anymore, and I had no time to myself. Because think about it, she's waking up, and even her nap times were being spent with me. So I had no moment to myself, and I started losing my mind from that too. So now it took a lot to train her to sleep in the crib for nap time. And I think the only reason she's been able to do it now, close to a year old, is because she's kind of old enough to understand the concept. Otherwise, your best solution is just to start them napping in the crib early if you can. And I feel like, looking back at it, you shouldn't be so scheduled with nighttime routines so much as you should be with the nap time, I feel like. At least that's what I'm gathering from other moms who had a lot more kids than I have. They don't struggle with the nap times. They have a little bit more consistency and routine in the nap time. But it seems completely impractical to have too much structure at night, because you never know how they're going to be. Anyway, this is all the things that I've been thinking about with baby number 2. So we do plan to co-sleep for an indefinite amount of time. Basically, we want to do it until it doesn't work anymore. And I liked it a lot. You know, it's so sweet having your baby with you, but when it becomes a point where your own mental health is just absolutely crumbling because of, like, sleep deprivation is the most real thing, and it's definitely the number one hardest part of being a parent is the sleep deprivation. Then you have to make a change. And I mean, often, like I just said, it may like literally be for the benefit of your child to let them not sleep with you, because maybe they're not actually sleeping very well with you when they're waking up to feed a ton. So this is something that I would never have even considered had my midwife not mentioned it to me, because I was planning to do the co-sleeping for a couple of years until weaning or something like that. So yeah, I hope you found this a little bit helpful, things to think about, especially if you're going into first-time parenthood. I feel like, also I should say, I'm learning that once a first-time mom, I think you're always a first-time mom, because just because something worked with your first does not mean it'll work with your second. I am not naive. I will probably try a lot of the same things, but it doesn't mean it'll work. So yeah, once a first-time mom, always a first-time mom, and that's okay.